In a world where AAA titles suck large amounts of PP and also asking for money after you pay for them full price, indie games will thrive. And here's the reason why.
Alright, we're here. AAA games ain't really what they used to be. We've gone from fun and creative to realistic and technical, but perhaps maybe in the worst way possible. Games now come out half-baked with good graphics, but often they're followed by lackluster storytelling, questing, mechanics, or just straight up chock full of bugs. Couple that with games just being so gosh darn expensive to make, along with small things like... And it's kind of no wonder why the industry is struggling right now. Recently, Microsoft has shut down several of its studios, with two of the most notable being Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks. Along with this, there have been a massive number of layoffs in the industry, with, I believe, last year having about 10,000 layoffs, and then this year alone having 9,500 just this year. We're not even halfway done with the year yet. The weird thing is that it's from studios you wouldn't really expect to have layoffs, like Insomniac Games, the guys who made Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 recently. Yeah, why the fuck are you guys getting laid off? Your game sold like 10 million fucking units. What's going on there? If we do the math, at the time of recording this, Spider-Man 2 still costs roughly around between 65 to 70 USD, depending on where you buy it from. So we're just going to say $69.99 to just keep it simple. Multiplying 10 milli by $69.99 gives almost $700 million in revenue. This is gross, by the way. This is not net. And what's crazy is they made more money than what it cost to make the game, which was allegedly $300 million. So they made a $400 million profit, and they still had to let people go. Maybe I'm not an economics expert or whatever, but that's kind of insane to me. And the real icing on the cake is that it's taking forever for these games to come out now. Okay, so there were 4 years, roughly, between Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming out. Okay? Let's go back to like the end of the 90s, going into the 2000s, right? So Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 came out within the same amount of time that it took just 7 and Rebirth to come out in. 4 years. It took 4 years for 3 mainline Final Fantasies to come out. And yes, I know the games are much older. You know, they don't necessarily look the best, but I will say, to my point, that the jump from 7 to 8 and then 8 to 9 is quite impressive for the time. What's even crazier, though, is the gap between Final Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy 16. 7 whole goddamn years. What? I'm gonna be in my fucking 40s by the time Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out, bro. My fucking god. Look, on a tangent, man, one thing I gotta mention here is this colossal piece of shit called Skull and Bones, okay? How dare it have the title of the first quadruple A game? Bro, this thing is no better than a fucking tech demo. This game apparently took 11 years to make. 11 years. Let that sink in. It felt more barren than Sea of Thieves when it first came out. Everything just feels so uninspired and generic, and it just blows my mind how corporations are willing to shell out like $200 million for a game that, in testing, they have to know fucking sucks. You don't just sit there and just build a fucking game, and then you don't test any of it, and then have the players go, oh yeah, that was pretty fun. I guarantee you there wasn't a single fucking person in that room that was like, man, this game is so fucking fun, dude. This game rules, dude. This game is a shit, bro. 11 years is a long ass time to not get a payoff for a game and not even break even on that shit either, bro. And why are you calling it a quadruple A, bro? That shit is straight up embarrassing, bro. It's just a video game. It ain't that deep, dog. If you want to talk about quadruple A, bro, Elden Ring. Bro, come on. Bro, we got ourselves a nodder here, dude. We got ourselves a little nodder. Game like that, GTA 6, okay, buddy? Games that push the bounty. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're getting there. we're getting there. I really don't mean to shit on Ubisoft so hard, specifically the devs. As I've said in my Nintendo video, yes, the devs most of the time. Because I know a lot of this shit probably comes from the sales side of things. But right now, they're showing us a straight-up masterclass as to why the industry is struggling. Anyway, my tangent's over. The bottom line is we just have these shitty, stupid, fucking brain-dead CEOs and these out-of-touch corporations that are calling all the shots in this massive multi-billion-dollar industry. And I really don't think that, at least on the AAA side, it's going to get much better anytime soon. Now, with tomfoolery like this happening in the industry, I think now more than ever, indie games are just gonna straight up thrive. Sure, now we have like these colossal sized teams of thousands of people working on like one video game, but then there's these indie guys over here with teams of like 5, 10, 15, 20 people that are putting these AAA games into the fucking dirt and then pissing on them and just straight up like steamrolling them in terms of raw style, creativity, just everything. The thing that helps a lot with this is that a lot of these studios aren't like nailed down by overlord corporations telling them what they can and can't do with the game, or having to meet like insanely fucking stupid deadlines. Oftentimes, you see indie games being on sale for literal fractions of the cost of these AAA games, and they still put on numbers that make you wish you worked for them. A prime example of this is something like Terraria. And yeah, before you go in the comments saying, this game's fucking 13 years old, yada, yada, yada. I know this. I wasn't born yesterday, bro. I'm not stupid. But that being said, I've not seen a game receive as much love and support from both the devs and the community. It's baffling, dude. Their team consists of 11 people. And can you guess how many copies they've sold? 44.5 million copies. If we look at the Steam revenue calculator, we can see that this game has made $450 million from what I can assume is just Steam alone. What? Literally the cost of Spider-Man 2. This is also a game that is available fucking pretty much everywhere. You could even probably play this on the Skyrim fridge if you really wanted to. And this is a game where you could sink hundreds of hours into before you even start getting bored. Not to mention the overwhelming support for mods in the game that the devs themselves even support. Like Calamity, dude. Oh my god. Calamity just makes the game Terraria too. Did I mention this game is $10, by the way? $5 on a really good day. Fine. Look, I know what you're saying in the comments. This game's old. Okay, I get it. But I can give you a more recent example. Pow World. This game since launch has made over $500 million. And reportedly cost less than $7 million to make. And in this article from IGN, apparently the guy over all of Pocket Pair is just like, yeah, we're kind of making too much money, bro. Y'all need to slow down a little bit, which it kind of has in defense. It kind of has. These games are putting out numbers comparable to AAA studios, and they're being made by such small teams. That I can't get past that, dude. That blows my fucking mind. That being said, an indie game does not need multi-millions of dollars to thrive. There are plenty of examples in the underground gaming scene that have left their mark for sure. Look at Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, a game made by Team Reptile. This game is for a very specific type of person. You like Team Reptile, and you love Jet Set Radio. The game has been estimated to sell around 300,000 copies, which I believe is around like $9 to $10 million in revenue, which is still nothing to scoff at by any means. Shit, I wish I had $10 million. On top of that, these games are still getting sales years after launch with help from like Steam sales, PlayStation Store sales, and the like. But we're still talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars of potential revenue that you can still bring in while your game is selling for fractions of the original price. It also helps that on some of these storefronts, they have specific showcases for indie games. Or take Nintendo, for example, doing something good for fucking once and actually holding things like the Indie World Showcase. It really helps give exposure to these smaller developers and really puts them on the map for other people to discover them as well. Anyway, that's enough about numbers. Let's move on. In the world of AAA, You have your staple types of games that permeate through the digital storefronts year after year. Call of Duty, mandatory handfuls of all right to really good single-player games, and some new fucking live service bullshit that's just going to be a money sink for your demon of a child that you have sitting in the living room. Not Helldivers, though. This is very good. Of course, there are plenty of really good AAA games that come out and push the boundary of what it means to be a next-gen single-player title. But for every one of these games that comes out, there's like 5 indie studios that are making some of the craziest fucking mechanics I've ever seen in a video game. Yes, it's not realistic, but it's wacky, creative, and most importantly, super fun. Look, I'm not seeing AAA games let me play as a degenerate Japanese high school student who beats the fuck out of rival schoolmates and has a dedicated button to smoking ciggies, okay? Closest I get is ripping a fat one in GTA Online in my apartment. AAA titles definitely have uniqueness to them, but that uniqueness that they put on top of the same overused formulas year after year does get to be a little tiring. Ghost of Tsushima is a beautiful and visually stunning game, and I don't think this is a bad game by any means. But at the same time, when I play it, I can't help but feel like I'm playing Assassin's Creed or Far Cry again. Again, I'd like to reiterate that this does not mean that this game is bad by any means. I think it's a very good game. I played through it, I enjoyed it, but it felt samey. I just feel like large studios do this because it's a formula that they know works, so they don't have to waste a ton of money on it, whereas indie games have all this room to be experimental straight from the get-go. Like this browser-based indie fighting game called Tough Love Arena, which was made by like 2 people and has rollback netcode and is also really fun. Like, huh? And it's free? Or this Russian roulette shotgun game called Buckshot Roulette, which is pretty much how it sounds. You go into a room, there's a dude across from you, and you play Russian roulette with a shotgun. Oh, that sounds appetizing. But it's so unique. I mean, check out the art style. It's so grimy, eerie, and has tons of personality, which is perfect whenever you're looking down the barrel of a shotgun. Game preservation is in my blood, and I'm going to pull it out every single chance I get because people need to be educated on this topic. Which is convenient because of the shit that Ubisoft just pulled. We've been looking forward to an Assassin's Creed game that takes place in Japan for years, and while I feel like studios have already kind of beaten Ubisoft to the punch, hence with Ghost of Tsushima, we finally got the Japanese Assassin's Creed announcement that we've all been waiting for. But along with that came something that didn't make us gamers very happy. There was talk of the game being online only for a single-player game, which made no sense. But luckily, Ubisoft came out and debunked that. No. You only have to be online to install the game, and then you can play it. I don't understand why when I buy a game, it just can't be on a disc, just by itself. 1.0, I just shove the shit in my console, and it works. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Remake had install discs. Why can't you just ship the game with an install disc? Why do I have to connect my PS5 to the internet to download a fucking install file for the game when I could just put it in my console, play at 1.0 without internet? So, pretty much what you're saying is people that don't have good internet are going to have to download a 40 to 80 gigabyte installation file just to play the game day one, or whenever the fuck they decide to buy it. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe you can just put it in, but that's not what the fine fucking print said on the statement that they made right here. This is just one step closer to the always online bullshit where even when you buy a disc physically from a store, you will still own nothing and be perfectly happy with it. It doesn't really help that we have games like Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, which is still 70 buckaroos at the time of recording this, be online only even for the single player. Like, why? It's single player. I'm by myself. I don't need fucking help from anybody, man. God damn it, shit. Meanwhile, this beautiful game called Noida is $20. And in this game, every single pixel on the entire map is simulated with physics. Meaning everything can blow up and shit like this starts to happen. And the best part? No internet needed. And the game is like maybe a gig max to download. Go crazy. There's even companies out there like Limited Run providing indie games that never had physical releases to have physical releases. So there you go. No internet connection needed at all. Just your fine, hard, cold American cash and your console of choice to take to dinner tonight. Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. Okay, okay. Look, okay. I know I've been meat writing indie games this whole time, but just pay attention for a little longer. Just a little longer, please. There are a metric ass load of indie games out there, with many of them being complete and utter like dog shit, and many of them being the absolute pinnacle of creativity. But with that comes just being able to see creativity in its rawest form from indie developers who are not influenced by what corporations have to say, giving us ideas that we may not see otherwise in mainstream games. It's just unfiltered creativity that shines through, be it good or bad. And in my opinion, I think this is what makes indie so unbelievably beautiful. And also why I think indie will always thrive, even when the mainstream game industry is just getting shanked in a random alley somewhere by an Englishman. Like, dude, there's a poker roguelike called Balatro. What? Poker roguelike? It's insane to me that something like this even exists and is also just made by like one dude. Devs also tend to be more transparent with stuff like this as well, like the developer of said game, Local Thunk, having an AMA on Reddit about the game after its release. Shit, another example is something like Hades or Hades 2, where they're in early access, but the state of the game right now is so full and fulfilling already that, in my opinion, you really could release this as a 1.0 of some sort, and I think it would be passable, especially by today's standards in the industry. But instead of releasing it in 1.0, the devs release it in early access so they can actively work on the game and take players' feedback, just to see like what blows about the game or what bugs are run ending for some of the players out here. And by the time 1.0 releases, I guarantee you it'll probably be just as good, if not far better than the original. These games are so technical in how they play that it just makes sense as to why you'd want community feedback for half the shit in your game. And it also adds to the already exceedingly positive reputation from Supergiant themselves. Not to mention that they just dropped this shit on Steam out of fucking nowhere shortly after the technical test and took everyone off guard. Animal Well is another shining star that this time is actually backed by content creator Video Game Donkey and his production company Big Mode. And since its launch, it's received nothing but praise everywhere. It's just wild to see that now we're in a time where content creators are able to take in these devs and help them realize their dreams and make the games that they've always wanted to make and make them fucking good. And now, more than ever, it's easier to make games. Anyone can do it. All you gotta do is just watch a couple YouTube tutorials and fucking download Unity, some Blender shit, learn all this stuff for free, and you can have yourself your own video game. That's amazing. With upcoming games like Mouse, shoot 'em up in the style of Steamboat Willie, or a game called Squirrel with a Gun, which, yes, is quite literally what it sounds like, a squirrel with a fucking gun. Or even with the highly anticipated Hollow Knight Silksong coming out at some point, the future of games, or at least indie, is not looking dim at all. There's always something hitting the storefront that absolutely surprises and even amazes me sometimes. Just at how unique it can truly be. Hopefully the game industry learns from these colossal failures that have been happening, and we can come back even stronger from this with hopefully some even more amazing games. I don't think AAA will ever die per se, but I do think right now we're the closest to dying that it has ever been since like the 80s video game crash. It sucks. Games kind of blow now, but we've got indie games, and indie games will just keep on going, and there will always be something new and refreshing to play. Anyway, it's super fucking hot, dude. I'm getting out of here. It's hot as shit. I'm sweating my ass off right now. Hey, yo, it's hot as shit out here, dude. Oh my god. You know what fucking chair I was using to record with? Bro, look at this. It's tragic, bro. So tragic. Hey, but hold on, bro. Hold on, got a little dude. I got some DLC for this video, dude. I got some DLC. You ready for this, dude? This little fella. Look at that little guy right there. Little fella.
Must have hung a beat, hope, default, me back, nigga, yeah, freak, though, man down, call on Everlands, tell him breathe, though, another nigga to the cross, he fuck around like T-So, what's up with these phony ass niggas trying to see Compton? They English speaking hate me, fuck them all in they mama, how many ops he really got? I mean, it's too many options, I'm finna pass on his body, I'm John Star.